Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is. Hey, I'm sorry I'm late. I'll give you guys a little bit of an update on Dave Bear. So I was just on the phone with him, spent a little time with him. And so he's going to, for those of you that followed it, he's going to go through a couple of trials. We're going to try and get him into some trials. But as we said yesterday, the chemo is not working. And so there's just a lot to be done. There's a lot to be done, and you know, he's not giving up, and we're not giving up. So just figured I'd share that with you. So let's talk about today. Let's talk about all the stuff that we're going to go through today. You cannot ignore what is happening in our country in the elections. The New Jersey election, there's over 3 million votes, 1.7 million in the governor's race in New Jersey. 1.7 million that went to the winner. You have in the Virginia race something even more pronounced. You have the guy that called for the murder of his opponent and their children that won that race, and obviously lots of stuff going on there. The elections across the country, we have Douglas County, Colorado. It's the reddest part of Colorado. Every one of the conservative board members in Douglas County were removed. In that race, in a deep red area of Douglas County. Everywhere you look across the entire country, Democrats are basically pulling out all the stops in order to eliminate any ability for the people, the normal people, even normal Democrats, like just normal people, to be able to govern themselves. We are not only under siege, we are captured, completely captured. And captured to a degree where, frankly, I don't think we can recover from this very easily without, and I said it before, you can file all the lawsuits you want. I talked to Andy out of Nevada this morning, the case where it went to court and they said, oh, you don't have standing, you can't talk about this, tried to eliminate all the stuff with Ed Solomon. Everywhere you turn, you have judges that are basically violating the rule of law. You have DAs that are basically letting people out on the street. We are in a perpetual state of lawlessness. And frankly, I think we're going to war. I said it before. But the amount of psychological warfare that's being pushed against the American people is pretty obvious. It's very obvious. But let me tell you what did happen before we bring in our guest. Nancy Pelosi, after 38 years, of completely screwing up our country. 38 years, she says she's not going to seek re-election in 2026. She's not going to seek election. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about Nancy Pelosi because she's worth $413 million on a salary of $174,000. The amount of corruption that we have in our country, we know, but there's nothing we can do about it. And that's a sign that you know that you're a slave. And we live in this slave culture. So we're going to dive deep into the swamp's final gasp. We're going to expose Nancy Pelosi. And we're going to hear what President Trump had to say about it. There's no love lost between the Democrats and the Republicans right now, at least at the level where we have confidence in. So we have confidence in President Trump. We have confidence in Caroline Leavitt's ability to communicate with the public. I wouldn't say that I have the same confidence of everyone in his circle, but we're going to talk about that. We'll talk about the election anomalies, but let's start here. This is a tweet I put out, an X post that I put out. And let's go ahead and put it up. We have not won an election since Trump was elected, not one. Not one in red areas or blue areas. You think this is about the shutdown? You think that people who are from communist nations that came to the U.S. in droves voted for Mandami? They did not. It's a fixed election. They all are. Frankly, you are stupid or complicit at this point if you can't see it. A majority of Americans are good people. Good people do not vote for a guy that calls for the killing of their opponent's children. The entire system is a fraudulent mess, and frankly, the GOP leadership at every level has remained silent. They are anemic and pathetically weak in their understanding of the reality we face. I would love to believe it's 5D chess, but Charlie murdered and nothing. Grooming of children continues. DEI renamed and continues. Stolen elections are the norm. Everything is literally the same. No progress, but a shit ton of hopium and central casting. I'm frustrated we cannot have a single honest conversation at any level about the reality, about simple truth. That's what I think. You know, I don't really, I don't think that we have to scream and yell and argue about it anymore. They're retarded. They're ridiculous. They want us to negotiate the ridiculous. They want us to say that a man is a woman and a woman is a man, and that, you know, somehow that what happened 2,000 years ago or 200 years ago, 300 years, whatever, is somehow oppressing people in their environment when it's run by Democrats. And that the deserts that exist for black people, brown people, whatever you want to call them, are actually caused by the very people that say that I'm there to help, that have abandoned and betrayed their own, call them their own people. The Democrats are like, we're for black people. White people are bad. It's usually white liberals that say it. They say, but I'm not white, I'm Jewish. I don't believe in God, but you know, you don't put me in that group with them. Creating mass chaos across our society while making the school system probably one of the worst out there for inner cities, for large groups of minorities, but teaching them enough social justice to say that the reason why you're uneducated, the reason why you don't have opportunity, and the reason why you can't eat is because of the people in the suburbs that go to school and do what's necessary in order to create success for themselves. The absurdity to it is pretty obvious. And yet we allow the radical left to continue to have conversations, and we want to debate the ridiculous. I find it ridiculous that we would even have to do that. Here's what President Trump had to say. Let's go ahead and play it when talking about Nancy Pelosi announcing she will not seek re-election. Play it.
Nancy Pelosi announcing she will not seek re-election. Peter Doocy is live at the White House. He's got exclusive first reaction from the president. These two have tangled a bit in the past, Peter.
Yes, and I just chatted with President Trump about this breaking news that Nancy Pelosi will be leaving Washington. He tells me the following, and this is a quote. "The retirement of Nancy Pelosi is a great thing for America. She was evil, corrupt, and only focused on bad things for our country. She was rapidly losing control of her party, and it was never coming back. I'm very honored. She impeached me twice and failed miserably twice. Nancy Pelosi is a highly overrated politician."
That's interesting. Here's what Caroline Leavitt had to say. This is being Captain Obvious about Pelosi. Go to play it.
To put a ban on stock trading for members of Congress is even a thing is because of Nancy Pelosi. I mean, she is rightfully criticized because she makes, I think, $174,000 a year, yet she has a net worth of approximately $413 million. In 2024, Nancy Pelosi's stock portfolio, this was a fascinating statistic to me, grew 70% in 1 year in 2024, and her portfolio outperformed every single large hedge fund in that same year, and even more than doubled the returns of Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway. So I think the president stands with the American people on this. He doesn't want to see people like Nancy Pelosi enriching themselves off of public service and ripping off their constituents in the process.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the election fraud really quick. I want to get to our guest. I got lots of questions for our guest. And before I actually talk about the election here for a minute, let me just tell you a little bit about our guest. Feargus O'Connor Greenwood, and he's going to talk to us about, he's a Psyop researcher. I'm sure he's got plenty of stuff he wants to talk to me about. He's been patiently listening to what I have to say right now on the show. I'm sure that he'll be able, I'm going to have to pull up a couch and he's going to charge me per the hour for some of the comments that I'm going to go through with him. He's going to have to make it make sense to me. He's an author and independent researcher. He focuses on societal systems, financial structures, and alternative narratives. His notable work includes 180 Degrees, Learning the Lies You've Been Taught to Believe, which I believe we're going to be talking a little bit about today. He's has a mathematics degree from Royal Holloway, which is the University of London, and has a master's degree from the TIAS School for Business and Society in the Netherlands. And he's going to give us some critiques on the financial system. We're just going to talk about a lot of stuff. But he's participated in podcasts and interviews discussing his research and book themes. And so we'll welcome him here just in 2 seconds. I want you to see this really quick. Put up this thing for New York. This is what I was talking about when I said 3 million votes. If we can put that up. Can we put it up? 3. There we go. For the last 50 years, we would have 2 million plus voters, and the winner would have roughly 1.1 to 1.4 million votes. Somehow we have never had over 3 million voters, and the Democrats have 1.7 million votes. I want to point out that the Democrats literally have almost 1.8 million votes. And if you want to know anything about New Jersey has been shrinking as a state as far as population. People have been leaving in droves. Most people that were in New Jersey moved to North Carolina, moved to Florida, just got out of there. And yet they now have 3 million people that voted in the election. Do you believe it? And in 2021, it was 1.3 million, and Phil Murphy. And in 2017, it was 1.2 million. Just getting over 2 million. So they grew by 600,000 voters since 2021. Well, I can tell you right now that it's all a lie. And we are being fed a lie, and the Democrats and the Republicans are staying away from the truth. They just don't want you to hear it. Here's a man trying to use his ID to vote. I want you to see this really quick. Go ahead and play it.
Because it's saying no.
So you don't want my ID? How do you know it's me then?
We can look it up by menu.
I could just give you a fake name.
We can give you up by menu.
Signature, we check signatures.
Yeah, we're not,
So if you don't check-
not supposed to give you ID.
But
Unless
if you don't
it's
check ID, how are you going to know this is our signature?
Manual entry. No
We
worries.
have the signature on file.
Yeah.
Oh,
Show
interesting.
him when he signs. When he
What do you
signs,
say?
show him.
First 3 letters of your last name?
You got it, right?
First 3 letters of your last name?
Yeah. I gave you my ID. Why don't
I
you
know,
use
but the first 3 letters of your last name, sir.
it? Shit, you guys making this difficult.
We're not making it
UDD.
difficult at all.
Is he giving you his ID to look at?
Yeah, I gave it to him. so
Okay,
you can
give it
use
to him.
So you
Give
can
it.
use
We're not supposed to ask
We're not
for
supposed
it.
But I'm giving it to
I
you
know.
so that it's easy
You're
for you
absolutely
to...
right. You're absolutely
Because
right.
I could be somebody who's just pretending to be somebody.
You're absolutely right.
I don't think you
We're
want me
not
to pretend.
supposed to ask.
It
We're
doesn't
not supposed
matter.
to ask for identification.
How do you know it's the right person?
We have a signature on file.
I get it, but if I'm giving you my ID, it's so that you can verify for sure it's me.
I found him by his date of birth.
Who? Oh, you found him?
Yeah, by his date of birth.
That was on that table. I'm here now with this gentleman.
Start over. Go to manual entry. Put in his birthday. That's how I
Thank
found
you.
him.
Okay. Put in his date of birth.
Just trying to make it easy for you guys.
Understand? We were told.
I don't care what you were
we
told. I'm
were
making it
not
easy for you
allowed
guys.
to ask.
But I'm giving you guys my
If
ID,
you
so
put it in front of my face, I'm gonna.
I'm not
take
gonna.
it.
Obviously, I'm not gonna do that. I'm telling you. Do you need my ID? Here's my ID. Take it. Use it. That's what it's for. Identification. To identify who I am, if I'm the right person or not.
Oh no, wait. I'm sorry. 114.
It's the only country in the world that does not require you to have an ID. And they did it on purpose in order to steal the sovereignty of people. I don't think you understand the significance of what we're actually talking about here. It has nothing to do, this has nothing to do with letting the oppressed actually vote. It has to do with stealing your voice. You're a slave. With that said, I don't want to waste any more time. I want to bring our guest in. Feargus is joining us now. Did I say that right? Welcome to the show.
Thanks very much for having me on.
So you got to hear a little bit of what's happening in the United States. Are you here? Are you stateside or are you in Europe?
No, I'm in the UK.
Okay, I'm sorry. I feel sorry for you because you had it before we had it.
We've got it pretty much as hard as you've got it, yeah. But I mean, if just picking up on the point you made there, Joe, with the election fraud. I mean, this is nothing new in the States, right? I mean, I put in my book the case from Eugene Curtis in 2004, where he was in front of the House Judiciary Committee, and the judge was asking him about possible elections.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, well, there's definitely fraud. And the judge said, well, how do you know? He said, because I was asked to write a software program, which was 5149 in any situation. I think that was for Congressman Tom Feeney at the time. And the judge was sort of bereft and said, what, you mean it could change any result? He said, yeah, for sure. So the election fraud's been around for a long time. I think what's new in the States is you never used to have voter fraud. And obviously that came in massively in the 2020 election. And as you've seen from the video there, yeah, there's a reason they don't want to see the ID, because then they can't get all the fraud through. But it's a newer thing, is the voter fraud rather than the election fraud. But ever since the Dominion machines have been out, and I think you've discussed this on other podcasts, the whole system's been rigged.
But it's not just Dominion. It's ES&S, Smartmatic. They're all connected. They're all connective tissue that date all the way back to Smartmatic handing off and buying Sequoia voting systems, which was in 17 states and the District of Columbia. And you accurately talked about in 2004 that Clinton Curtis he testified to this. And yet in 2009, they were forced to sell. Sequoia was forced to sell because of improprieties by CFIUS, which overlooks any sort of national security issues, which then it passed on. It basically was like passing it off from one mob boss to the next and hiding it under this impropriety.
Yeah. I mean, there was another thing I highlighted with Deborah Bowen from California, and she asked someone to try and hack the election system, and they managed to do it in 60 seconds. And someone who studied it said, if you wanted to set up a system that you could easily hack, the architecture of which you'd do exactly as the Dominion was set up. So this was all deliberately put into play as soon as you went to electronic voting. However, in the UK, we still have, it's still all counted manually, which is a better system. But as we know from Andrew Bridgen's example, that doesn't mean to say that it can't be corrupted.
Yeah, what amazes me about all this is that you can see it and say, I can see it clearly. Mm-hmm. And there are 71% of Americans can see it, and they can see it clearly. The media hides it from us. They say it's not there. The Democrats say nothing to see here because we're winning every election. The machine companies are allowed to sell themselves with impropriety, with impunity, and collect $787 million, while our news media basically falls on the sword in order to shake the very fiber of our country away from questioning elections. And then you have judges and this rotted society, this rotted group of people that have perpetuated this and said, oh, yes, absolutely. You're supposed to go to a jury, and the jury's supposed to decide whether it's defamation, right? But they say, okay, no, I've already found that it's per se defamation before the case is even put on. And then say, so go do your thing, but I'm tying two hands behind your back and making you operate on one foot.
Exactly. So, I mean, when it comes to the corruption, I mean, one of the big problems, Joe, is obviously things like compromise. And I'm afraid your whole political system, as is ours in the UK, is based on it. So you've had, obviously, the never-ending saga with Epstein and what's going on there. But when you really dig in, I mean, I give a case, I think it was Dave Jander was explained. He was working in the US government in the 80s, and he was told, right, Dave, never go to a political party, Senator's party in DC. And he said, why not? He said, well, you look like you've got some ethics, so here's what's going to happen. You'll go to the party, there'll be a football game on, there'll be some kids there. Someone will slip something in your drink, and you wake up a few hours later with a Polaroid with a naked child on you. And at that point, they've got you. And there was a New York detective called James Jimmy Boots Rothstein who dug into all this in the 60s, 70s. So it's been going on for a very long time. And the estimate is that 99% of Congress is gone.
Well, so you wake up with a kid on top of you. They own you. I mean, I know of a senator here in Colorado that basically his own son described him as a zombie. He's just not the same guy after going to Congress. So we know that there's been honeypots and things that have happened. I'm very careful not to drink, eat, do anything around anyone else unless I'm in a safe place where there's other people that I trust around me.
Okay, yeah.
So what you're describing right now is the fact that our entire system, and by the way, what you said is true. Like I've gone out in Washington, D.C. specifically. I've gone out in other circles where even when I was in California, and I was meeting with, activists, actors, and they said, by the way, don't eat or drink anything.
Right, yeah. Good advice, I'd say, but mad that it's got to that stage, right?
Well, the fact is that they're running an op on you, which means that you become an interested party to their circle. Yeah. So how do we reconcile that with what we're seeing right now? If you and I know this, and we know that other people know this isn't off Netflix. This is not off of, some sort of, docudrama that they actually created. This is real life.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I'm writing a new book at the moment. It's called Spiritual War. And within that, in chapter 5, we've got a darker chapter. I touch on it also in chapter 9 of the 180 degrees. But I'm talking to MK Ultra survivor, FRA. Her father was in the intelligence services. He abused her from the age of 2 and then ran her out as a honeypot operation on senior policemen. And she witnessed what became a future attorney general rape and murder a kid that she witnessed. So this is on a scale that is going to be hard for people to imagine.
And yet they can imagine, and yet no one is held accountable and no one is arrested.
Correct. So how it works is anyone at a low level, so street level, can be arrested. But anyone in the high echelons generally gets away with it. So again, James Rothstein said he actually subpoenaed Tippy Richardson, who was, I think, head of the CIA or one of the divisions of the CIA at the time, on child trafficking. And he said, well, good luck with that because nothing's going to happen because it's a case of national security. And that's exactly what came along and nothing happened. So, I mean, you talked the other day also on your monologue about retarded is the new smart, right?
Yeah.
So what you're dealing with is inversion. So, and because one of the reasons for that is you're dealing with a bunch of Satanists. So the death cult uses inversion a lot. And I was interested in your comments because we've got things like blame the victim, which is an inversion, and of course promoting stupidity over competence, right, which is your point. But there's some deeper issues within that, and that is, I think, part of that aim is to antagonize people, get people angry and emotional. I think it also aims as a distraction, while they implement all the control grid and other stuff that's coming in with digital IDs. And actually, you might be interested because this is something, a quote I picked up from someone writing about communist societies, and they talked about it in terms of humiliation rituals as well. Can I give you the quote?
Yes.
So this is from Anthony Daniels. He's also writes under the name Theodore Dalrymple, who was a psychiatrist and critic. He said, "In my study of communist societies, I came to the conclusion that the purpose of communist propaganda was not to persuade or convince, not to inform, but to humiliate. And therefore, the less it corresponded to reality, better. When people are forced to remain silent when they're being told the most obvious lies, or even worse, when they're forced to repeat the lies themselves, they lose once and for all their sense of probity. To assent to obvious lies is some small way to become evil oneself. One standing to resist anything is thus eroded and even destroyed. A society of emasculated liars is easy to control."
They know they're lying.
And we know they're
That
lying. They know that we know that they're lying, but they keep doing it anyway. So the point on the humiliation point is that, it can actually be an end goal in itself. So that reminded me of what you were talking about with, retarded is the new smart. Actually, the tactic is so simple. You just invert everything, right? Good is bad, up is down. But sometimes it can be hard to recognize in practice. But I think you've probably heard of Hanlon's razor, haven't you? Which is never attribute to malice that which is adequately explained by stupidity. Well, I have a sharper blade you can play with. Never attribute to incompetence that which is better explained by psychopathy.
It's true. We have to address the white elephant, and that is people are buying it. So you have this lie, and then you have people that can't see their nose in front of their face and actually attach themselves to that lie. How is that even a thing? I mean, how are we? And look, I have friends that are smart people, and they believe this nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
How? I have a friend that is a Second Amendment. He loves the Second Amendment. He loves guns. But he believes the conservatives are fascists. And I'm thinking to myself, do you even know what the word means? You're ill prepared for this conversation because the only people that I see that are fascists are the communists and the socialists that are pushing this ideology across not just our country but around the world.
Yeah. So we got two boogeymen, right? We have the communists, the boogeyman for the right, and the fascists, the boogeyman for the left.
Yeah.
And those are the two that are paraded out. In reality, the only difference between the fascists and the communists is the difference between a concentration camp and a gulag.
Okay, so we're both talking about something that doesn't exist? Are you saying that the right is afraid of communism and the left is afraid of just a centrist, truthful society? I'm just trying to figure out how they come to their conclusions because I don't see how they get there. And I'm a pretty reasonable guy. I'm an introspective person, so I look and go, okay, let's look and see if this is true. But it's
okay.
not.
Well, I can explain a bit more detail to you. Yeah. The only point I'm trying to make with the comparison there is both are tyrannical regimes. So they're presented as the far right and the far left, but in reality, they're joined at the hip. So it's quite a bad framing of the discussion anyway. However, to answer your question, there was an interview of Yuri Bezmenov, who was a KGB defector, by G. Edward Griffin in 1984. And he said the following. He said, "A person who is demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell him nothing." Okay? The facts tell him nothing. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures, even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him a concentration camp, he will refuse to believe it. Obviously, that was in 1984 when the Soviet Union was still in existence. So there is a percentage of the population, I'm not sure how much it is, I'm guessing between 5 and 20%, who may be unreachable. However, that still leaves us 80% plus to go at, and that's more than enough to get the job done.
So is that why they're stealing elections? I mean, they have to steal elections because if you have 80% of the public that has common sense, and of that 80%, 70% will just remain silent. They just think it's crazy.
Well, yeah, I think people get to a point where they're saying, okay, what can I do about it? I mean, you've got dangers here of something called reactive depression, which is simply, okay, I know this is happening, but what can I do about it? Well, for me, I started to realize that one of the biggest challenges we had was to get the truth through to people. And when you start looking into how to communicate the truth without alienating people, it's actually not that simple, and it's quite counterintuitive, because you've got something called the backfire effect, which is when people have their beliefs challenged, those existing beliefs become more embedded. That's the problem, right?
But you'd have to have some sort of, look, you know when the sun comes up that it's light. You know when the sun goes down, it's dark.
Yeah.
Some of the things that they believe contradict even the most simplest of terms from a science or factual basis. And they've replaced it with your truth. Now, I think that part of this is the conflict that gets created when you basically create a paradigm shift of what science looks like. In other words, boys can be girls and girls can be boys, and let's cut off your penis if you're a boy and turn you into a girl, and that actually would manifest into
Trust
something.
the science, bro.
But they use that term. But I mean, there's a certain amount of psychopathy that has to happen for you to get to a place. I mean, you'd have to be deeply sick, even to believe some of the things they do on global warming and other things. It doesn't make any sense. Like, it defies science. Like, I can dig into something and say, okay, let's go take a very scientific approach to this. I like math better because if it's mathematical, it becomes very easy to tell if it's a null theory or if it's a factual theory. So how?
Yeah. Well, you're dealing with the nature of lies, and you've got various forms of that. And of course, there's something called the big lie, which is it's more credible by being incredible, i.e. it's so far out of people's sort of window of belief that just proposing the idea immediately switches their brain off. So I have a saying that people glide from A to Z, they don't jump from A to Z. If you've got someone at A who thinks the government's telling the truth and the media are telling the truth, they're at A. You cannot go into some of these topics which are much further down the line, like a breadcrumb trail you've got to provide. So they can move from A to B. When they've moved from B, you can move to C, from C to D. If you present X to them when they're at B, then they just don't see it.
All right.
And that's quite frustrating.
Yeah, and look, the fascinating part about this, I'm actually fascinated by people's retardation. I'm fascinated by it because they stand on the street corner and they hold a sign that says trans rights are human rights. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, it doesn't manifest into something that I can be like, okay, let me see what that means. Like, what do you not have that we have? Well, you don't want to accept that a trans man. I'm using that as an example, by the way. We can use anything: abortion rights, killing the baby out of the womb. We can use this perversion of not allowing people to worship and to proselytize out there about Christianity, but they can Islam. I mean, I could write a book on what you. I mean, you could write a book on it, on what you can't do in the UK. Like, if you tell someone I can't hear you, you're gay. They could throw you in jail for 2 years just for being funny. And they're like, oh, that wasn't funny, that was offensive. You're going to jail.
Yeah. And I mean, this has happened in my lifetime, right? I mean, this wasn't even on the radar in the 70s and 80s. But it's all part of more divide and conquer, isn't it? But I do think we've got, it does help if you understand some of the difference between the nature of lies and truth. So, for example, lies are quick, the truth is slow. So truth is a marathon, not a sprint, right? So what you're doing, Joe, with your podcast and so many others is, over time, truth is a one-way valve. So everyone who wakes up isn't going back. But we get frustrated because, truth's also an exponential function. So it does nothing for a very long time and then everything all at once. Whereas the saying that, a lie's halfway around the world before truth got its pants on.
And you can recognize it, but you're looking in the mirror, you look at the people around you and they look dumbfounded. In business, I've found that I've had this ability where I can see five steps ahead of it, or I can say, if we do this is what the outcome is. I close my eyes and I can literally see numbers. And then when I open my eyes, I know the answer, right? And so there's a certain amount of intelligence, I think, that you have to have in order to have that skill. On the other side, though, I look at other people and I was like, how do you not have that? Like, how are you retarded? And I want to walk up and talk to them, but as I talk to them, they feed me a bunch of nonsense. It literally is as if I'm talking to a zombie. It's not normal. It's not a normal conversation you're having. And I know in the UK, you guys have lots of people like that. Most of them become police officers and parliamentarians. But because you have some of the most retarded police officers I've ever seen. Oh, you said something bad about him. You get over here. I'm going to put you under arrest.
Sure, but this is coming top down, right, Joe? This isn't the street level police doing it because they woke up and fell out the wrong side of bed. It's because they're instructed to do it. I think what's going on is back to your point on the stupid again. I think it's there to deliberately antagonize people because it's clear in the UK they want to try and start a civil war now. And you can't have a civil war if you don't have two sides that don't hate each other, right? So how do you get one side hating the other? You start treating people unfairly, and that unfairness alone is one of the ways to antagonize. Talking about such ridiculous things of, I'm offended, well, like you say, so what? But that in itself is an antagonism and gets people frustrated. And if you can, put enough pressure on people from every angle, from finance to politics to, a culture war, then you're likely to have an eruption. And I'm sure that's what they're trying to do because we've got a guy called David Betts trying to predict it at the moment, but I would suggest that isn't necessarily a prediction. It's trying to nudge it in that direction because when they have chaos, they can move you more easily, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like if I came along to your house, don't worry, Joe, I'm not going to do this, but if I want to buy your house and it's not for sale, what if I come along with a Molotov cocktail and throw it through the window and your house burns down? You don't know that I've done it. Suddenly, you might be more open to going, I don't want to live in the place anymore. I'll just move on. So creating chaos is a way of shifting the population. And I think that's part of the reason it's going on.
You talk about civil war that they want in the UK. We obviously can see this social contagion is not just in the United States. It's not just in the UK. It has infected probably 85% of the countries out there. And where it didn't, dating back to 2020, they just walked in and killed world leaders. They did it in Haiti. They did it over in Africa. They basically sent in kill squads to knock off anyone that did not play ball with the COVID scam, right?
Yeah.
Scamdemic. And I'm telling you, they killed those people. They literally just walked in and killed them. And then the world basically...
Sorry. Do you know what the stats are from last year, from 2024, that Ed Dowd came out with in America for the deaths from the mRNA jab?
No.
He had 1.1 million Americans dead, 4 million disabled, and 28 million maimed or injured. And he
Maimed
got
or injured, meaning cancer and a couple other things, right?
blood clotting, the whole list of stuff. So that's pretty much 10% of the US population, right? And, you know, where do you hear about that? Now, his figures, he said he didn't just pull off the internet. He went to blue chip actuary companies, speak to the actuaries there, and get the information from their data, because their business is knowing when people die, right? So, yeah, and obviously the fallout from that isn't over, because he said it's a funnel. So you can go from made to disabled and disabled to dead.
All right. So you have them civil war. Let's just say civil war. They want civil war in 85% of the countries, and they're trying to get American people. They did it last in America because America has a tendency to get hotter faster, right? Which I think is very true. Like we have low tolerance for this stuff, but do you think there's a way that we could strategically not have a civil war, but accomplish what we need to accomplish? I mean, like, as in, get a group of people together, they walk in, they basically evict them. Tell all the judges, get the hell out. We're going to hold our new elections. We're going to hold our elections here. Tell them all just to get the hell out. And the police are like, look, we're not getting involved. The people have spoken. They're going to do these new elections. Do you think it's possible to do this without a conflict?
It's possible. The problem we have is that what you're talking about is, first of all, you need mass awareness of what's happening. Okay? To get mass non-compliance, you need the why. Why would I not be complying? Well, then you need to have a mass awareness of exactly how corrupt the system is. Then you go, well, how do you get there? Well, then we're back to communication of the truth. And then you think about, well, it's how to communicate that truth in a way that gets through to everyone. I say, so, you know, I have 10 solutions on how to do that, but perhaps if we focus on the geometric progression at the end of it, so I say word of mouth is the best way of doing this. So if you take, say, 35 people in the States, and they're willing to have 10 conversations with other people, and they go on to have 10 conversations with other people and teach them these tricks, then you can get to everyone in the States in just 7 steps. That's the only way I've thought it through in terms of what I think is practical and easy, because if you've got a totally controlled media that's doing nothing but Psyops on you, they aren't going to be the ones who are going to spread the message, right?
So, do you think there's a way we can combine efforts with what's happening in the UK? Because you're in bigger trouble than us. I mean, frankly, I think you are. You're at least a couple years ahead of us, right?
Yeah, we don't have the Second Amendment. That's our biggest problem.
Yeah, and they take it away from different nations. Canada, they just took it away. They took it away. I mean, look, you want to talk about a slave society. There's no better example of what's happened in our country of a slave society than what we're dealing with right now. It's a slave society. You live in a massive slave society. I at least can walk down the street and still call someone retarded. You call someone retarded, you're going to jail.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, people have been. I mean, it's utterly ridiculous, but yeah, I mean, I presume you saw the one where there was a lady silently praying on the street who got arrested.
So how do you resolve it? I mean, you know what I mean? I'm trying to work the problem. Like you're there, you're in the middle of it. You talk about spiritual warfare. We can identify the fact that this is criminal, that this is good versus evil. A lot of people say it, but then they sit on the sidelines and they eat their popcorn and they're like, just pop the stuff and sit over there like, don't ask me to jump in the middle of this. I just want to breathe one more day. When does it get to the point where people are willing to do something? Because right now, I feel like the human condition is changing.
Well, it's definitely changing because they want to turn us from organic to synthetic, right?
Right.
I mean, that's part of the transhumanist agenda. And, I mean, you can sum all that up from Solve Caligula, which is basically they want to replace everything that's natural with everything that's synthetic, because the ultimate aim, and they're quite open about it, is to defeat God. I don't know if you ever saw the interview between, I think, Laura Logan on germ warfare.
Yeah.
And she had a discussion with a guy at the UN, and she goes, well, I get it, but I don't get it. It's like the kids. What is it about all the child trafficking and torture? What the hell's going on? And he said, look, these people don't see the world the way that you see the world. They have a totally different perspective. They have one overriding motivation, and that is to defeat God. That's what she said. And she said the way they view defeating God is one of the fastest ways is to target the most innocent, and that's the children. So we're dealing with a level of evil, if you want to call it, that's way out there. If you look at all the past history of, how these things have resolved themselves, normally you can't get enough people to react until they've had enough pay. And this is one of the things that was clear when they interviewed people after the Bolshevik Revolution. And they said, well, why didn't you act? And they said, well, one of the key things was disbelief. We didn't really think it was happening. And the other key factor was we thought someone else would deal with it. We thought someone else would take responsibility. So, look, take COVID and everyone getting jabbed. If everyone had known in advance what was coming down the pike, it would have easily been dealt with by everyone just saying no. It's how you get to enough people to say no. And to do that, I believe it's down to understanding what's being done. And that means explaining it to them. And I do believe once they've got the good grasp of what's happening, then you have got a whole load more rebels on you. And that was one of the reasons I wrote the book 180, to take someone from a standing start of being completely asleep, totally awake by the end of the book.
All right, let me ask you this: how can truth tellers safeguard themselves legally in this climate, like dealing with the things that we're talking about right now? Can they? Are we doomed?
Well, no. I'm a great believer in know your enemy, right? As Sun Tzu said in The Art of War, if you don't know yourself, you don't know the enemy, you're going to lose every battle. If you know the enemy, you don't know yourself, it's 50-50. If you know the enemy and yourself, you know, everything's, you can win on all the time. So I don't think there's a book out there that I'm aware of, or a strategy of how to deal with this in this particular way. But I remain hopeful for one and one reason only, is in the past, we didn't have the internet. The ability to get the message around the world in seconds is now with us. And whilst they want it as the ultimate enslavement tool, it's up to us to leverage it in a way that's meaningful. And that is happening. I mean, if you go back 20, 25 years, was there an alt media? It didn't exist, right? Almost. Now you've got millions of people podcasting and trying to get the truth out there. So I do think the awareness is coming. Whether it's coming fast enough is another discussion.
Well, you know, it's funny you bring up the decentralization of information in the media. What that also caused is for those that are pushing out information that is false or fraudulent come to the forefront because it builds hopium. People are like, oh, look what happened. Tulsi Gabbard just announced that she found fraud in the New York City election. And then you go to fact check it and you can't because it's not there. It doesn't exist. But it didn't help that somebody pushed it around the internet 500,000 times, which puts you in your tracks. It literally stops you from actually having any progress to look at what really is happening around the country.
I agree. So the scary thing I heard the other day, someone said they're busy scrubbing the Wayback Machine.
They are. 100%.
Like shit. I'm just so glad I managed. I reckon now, Joe, if I was to try and start writing 180 degrees, I wouldn't be able to do it because a lot of those sources might have disappeared.
So you put a book out 180 degrees, right? Tell everyone what that book is about. Start there. And guys, can you put it up?
Got a copy here if they haven't got one.
There you go.
Cool. So yeah, I mean the reason I wrote it to begin with was very much I could see we've been lied to, not just about the small things but big things, and not just about some things but everything. As I say, it's you can describe it as a good page turner and a brain rewirer. So it's covering everything from the banking system, false flags that we break down from 9/11 onwards. Well, actually before that, because you've got things like Pearl Harbor. It then goes, the one you've referenced with this podcast, chapter 7 is called American Gulag. That takes the, starting with the empire collapse cycle, through the Bolshevik Revolution, through cultural Marxism to all the wokeism, and then ends up with Gregory Stanton's 10 points to genocide. We deal with other topics as well. There's the whole SRA and corruption in Chapter 9. Chapter 10 is on consciousness, and 11A and B are all on the medical system, with B specifically focused on the pandemic. And I'm really happy to say the book was originally published in end of 2020, so pretty much just, so everything I wrote in there was before the vaccines were rolled out, and I called them out as the Trojan horse back then, and that's exactly what the group will be going forward. So it covers a whole wide gamut of topics, and what I try and do is show the reader, not tell them what to think, so they can see it for themselves. So
you want them to think for themselves, but if they're already tied into the lies that they believe, they're not. That's the reason why you don't have 5 stars. People read it or bought it to just give you a stud thing. No, I don't believe the lies. You're a fascist.
But this is the great thing, Joe. That isn't the reaction I've had. Someone, I'll give you an example. So there's a guy in Scotland said to me, he said, my sister was the most asleep person you can imagine, right? He said, if you can wake her up, you can wake anyone up. He said, I tried everything and given in. He said, I went out, she babysat the kids, and I'd left your book on the table. And I came back and she was reading it. She said, where do you get this from? So he said, I don't know how you've done it, but I can see the result. And the result is people are absorbing the information without being triggered into throwing the book away.
Get me 10 of these books, guys. Order me 10 of these books. I'll have this book read I'll tell you about it. I'll have this book read by the end of next week.
I'll tell you what, I will offer to your audience 10 free copies, particularly anyone who's homeschooling at the moment, and I'll send them across the pond, the hardback signed copies. How about that?
I love that, but I'm still going to buy 10.
Okay, great. Feel free.
I'm going to buy 10 because I have 10 people that I want to read it, and one that is radically left. I want him to read it.
Okay, I'd love to hear what the reaction is. But and that's how I'd frame it as well. I'd say to them, look, look, there was one guy who came up to me and said, I gave your book to my friend's son who's a teenager who doesn't read books. I went, right, how did that go? He took one look at it and said, what the hell am I meant to do with that? He said, just read the prologue and see how you go. And he said, well, the teenage boy who doesn't read books, finish your 800-page non-fiction book in 2 weeks. So it looks fairly thick, but it's an easy read.
How many pages is it?
800.
This is 800 pages? Okay, I won't read it in a week. I'll read it, but I will read it in 2 weeks.
The record, I think, is 2 to 3 days. That was by Tim Price, who interviewed me on State of the Markets. But no, I'm really interested. Your super leftist friend. Let's see if what the reaction is.
Yeah, I mean, this would be a great experiment. And look, I've had people read a lot of books that E.M. Burlingham, he's on here all the time. He writes, and I have my friend who's radically left read his stuff, and he goes, well, he's just a doomer. And I'm like, no, he's not. He's preparing. He's preparing for what's going to come next because we know it's coming. Like we know, look, it's inevitable. One of the things, either the population capitulates to the lie, of which you face almost certain destruction, or the population fights against the lie, and then some are going to die in order to basically reset the realities that have to exist in a normalized society.
I'd agree with that, yeah.
So, we're at that final stage. We're at the stage where we know that and it's worse for you because, are you third generation, second generation? I feel bad for you because, I love London. I love coming out there and watching a nice football match, right? Real football, soccer, right? I love going out there and watching Man U and my wife and I would go out there and we'd go to the stadium and it's invigorating. Like I just love it. It's amazing because the people are amazing. And probably more amazing at the match. You see a bunch of fights, people get a little punch drunk, but it's the culture of it's amazing, right? And yet, every time I get into one of your taxis and I ask them about things, they're like, yeah, we had a fourth generation flat in London. Now you can't drive in London, and all of our flats have been given away to immigrants. And we've had to move outside the city.
Yeah, well, all I would say is the media make it look worse than it is, right?
Is it actually okay? I mean, it's okay for me when I'm there. I love it. I'd live there. Huh?
I mean, for walking around and everything like that in London, in most of these centres. But, of course, you're going to get incidents, and we've just had one recently. I don't know if you saw all the mass stabbings on the train. Some guy got on there with a knife and, 10 people were stabbed. So, I mean, it's not a great look, and there are dangers. But I do believe also that it's so overblown in terms of if all you ever watch is the news, right? It's just one big bun fight after the next.
Brother, you have 25,000 rapes a year. It's pretty big.
We've got mass grooming gangs that have been allowed to go on for 20 years, and that's a top-down thing. But again, look, what we're dealing with here is they want to destroy the nation state, both in the US and here, right? So I've said one of the fastest ways to destroy the nation state is to go after its culture. One of the fastest ways to go after its culture is to import someone else. So, none of this is happening by chance. And particularly, we had a big scandal with all the grooming gangs that was going on, mainly from Asian Pakistani side. In fact, I had a great chat with Doc Malik, who's the guy who stood up during the COVID and called out all the bullshit. He's from, Pakistani origins, and he was amazed at some of the stats behind this. But as well as targeting the gangs, you've got to look at the people who've allowed this to happen, and that's people high up in the police and judiciary, none of which are probably Pakistani. And, and even people like detectives in Manchester Police Force who were calling it out said no one would do anything about it. So it was allowed for multiple reasons. One of those reasons is, yes, antagonise the population. Another reason is, we'll eventually pick them up. But again, it's a street level problem. All the human compromise operations of high-level judiciary, policemen, politicians, etc., allowed to carry on, and that's like the sacrificial lamb that gets thrown to the people, right? Thinking that something's been done about
you said before that the police are told to do something. I want to come back to this. My brain just did that thing where it just went back to something you said, and that it's a top-down problem. They're being told that they have to basically enforce these laws that aren't really laws. They're nonsensical. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Why not have mass? No, just basically stand up and say no. We're not doing it. Why not? Why not get to the place where everyone gets together? I mean, they have unions here. They have unions in the UK. Why not just all get together and say, we're not doing that? You guys have lost your mind. That is absolutely 100% fundamentally unethical, and we shouldn't do it.
Well, we've got a huge problem in the UK because so many policemen are Freemasons.
Whoa. Okay, that's a big. What you just said is kind of you just dropped like a laser bomb in the middle of this deal. You said that the police are Freemasons. How does that influence their ability to do right or do wrong? Are you saying that they're satanic, or are you saying that they're...
Okay, so I cover this quite a bit. So first of all, let's be clear. There's the dark side and the light side within Freemasonry. There's a whole load of people within that who don't know anything about the dark side or anything that's going on. And they're running cover really for the ones that are doing the other stuff. So, yeah, there's a problem within that. It's been well documented. I mean, you can start, for example, with The Master's Carpet, which was written by Edmund Renane in, I think, 1887, where he details a whole lot of this stuff and the problems with it. So this isn't a new issue, right? But it is one of these organizations that runs a double doctrine. But one of the things within Freemasonry is you have to swear an oath above all other oaths. Well, as a policeman, you have to swear an oath, to the law and to serve the public. And the problem is that how do you resolve those two? Because one's going to usurp the other, and normally it's the Freemasonic oath that usurps the police oath.
Okay, so that makes sense, but I mean, the public, like I have friends in the UK that are meeting in the back of pubs, that are meeting in the back of churches, that are planning this, what they say is an inevitable fight for basic humanity in the UK. That's happening, and I think it's well documented all over the UK that people are leaving their phones downstairs and going up and doing stuff, leaving them at home, getting together with people. I mean, there is a groundswelling happening that's recognizing the mass rapes and the grooming gangs and some of the other things that you're dealing with there. And look, we face the same thing in the United States. But is there something that, as you see, obviously the media makes it look worse, but it's pretty bad when 25,000 people are getting raped every year. And by the way, if you go after your accuser, you can go to jail before they do, right?
Oh, yeah, and it's much worse on a mass scale. I think there's Paul, I forgot his surname, who produced Child's Voice, said it's something like 5 million kids a year are being trafficked around the world. I mean, this is true. Industrial scale stuff that's going on.
Well, and the only way to get that done is to have, like you said, the top down. The top has to be a part of it. They have to be a part of this entire culture. And the culture itself, the roots, the foundation of the United States and the UK, they're very giving people. They're very, they just want life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Vast majority of people, that's all they want, right? We got these smaller groups of people that are sociopaths and psychopaths that have created this environment where we are being held hostage. And I don't even know if you know about this, but for every 3 people that you'll see on the internet, 2 are bots. So two-thirds of the people that are actually communicating on the line and creating a narrative, they're not real.
Yeah, and there's nothing like social media to get everyone riled up, right?
Right. So what part? But we know that people are being let out on the streets, and I guess this just gets down to the psyops that we deal with on a regular basis, and how it makes us feel like we're inadequate. And this goes back to, what you were talking about, Yuri, and what he said in 1984, which is very true. that once you feel like you're in a place of demoralization, anything can be true.
Yeah, correct. I mean, it is the battle, I think, as you framed it there, Joe, which is, can we, despite all, having full spectrum dominance, psyops and everything else thrown at us, hold our centre? And, one of the hardest things is to witness all the cruelty and everything that's going on, but not let it consume your life. And I think that's one of the big challenges for us, is to go, okay, I'm going to detach myself to a certain degree so that emotionally I'm not going to react, but turn that, let's say, can be angry but don't act angry, is turn it into determination, a will of steel, and the preparedness to take the relevant action. And a lot of the case, it's actually quite simple. It's mass non-compliance. If everyone just stopped doing what the government told them, there'd be an immediate turnaround. But the challenge with all these things is they're easy. They're simple, the solutions, but they're not easy. And how do you get everyone to act in unison, or a big enough unison? And I think that comes down to what we talked about before, about mass awareness, that they know what's going on and deciding they've had enough.
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to have you back on after we go through some of this stuff. I know there's a ton more I can talk to you about, but frankly, everyone's mind is blown in the comments. Anybody have any questions they want to ask? Here's some of it. I think a vast majority of Masons basically joined a fraternity and didn't make the blood oaths to Satan. That's who is Chris? Maybe. I think that's basically what he's saying right now.
Definitely a Luciferian element within there, though. But it's wheels within wheels. I mean, people like Fritz Springmeier have done a really good analysis on this. Say my friend Rachel Bourne, who's an SRA victim, both her father and grandfather were Freemasons. I mean, the stuff's sort of mind-blowing, really. She was actually put into satanic ritual from the age of 3 in order, wait for this, Joe, in order to translate what the demon was saying when it was conjured up.
Man, it just never ends. Never ends. The book he did mention about Freemason wrote in late 1800s. Yeah, both my grandfather and my dad were Masons, so I was raised by Satan worshipers. No, my dad was a faithful Christian, as was Chris. Yeah, I think that, my wife's family came from a Freemason background. And so I think that there is a vast majority, there is a light and darkness to the Freemason environment.
Yeah,
for sure.
Loads of people totally unaware of any of the dark side that's going on there. So, one of the problems we have as humans, Joe, is this tendency to go into binary thinking, right? Everything's either all good or all bad. Whereas in reality, it's normally A and B rather than A.
Yeah. This is the part that I have. And by the way, I think this is a human condition problem. This is an issue that a lot of people face, is that there is a dark side of Christianity. There's a dark side to the Mormon religion. There's a dark side to the Catholic religion. There's certainly a dark side to the Jewish religion or cult-ish part, right? So you have Jews and Jewish, Satan worshipers, synagogue of Satan. It's a real thing, right? Sorry, it is. Yeah. And we've got to learn to differentiate between people that use cover and the Freemason. The reason why it's so popular and used by people that worship Satan is because they it's non-denominational typically. In other words, they say that they believe in a God. I do believe what you just said is true. They believe in a God. But you can find people from every faith inside of Freemasons. And it is a good cover. It's a good place for people that worship the devil or do evil deeds to hide.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the problem is that they're talking out both sides of the mouth, right? So on one hand, they're saying, well, we welcome Hindus, we welcome Christians, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But guy called Joshua Abraham, who's the son of Larry Abraham, who was the co-author of Non Dare Call It Conspiracy. And he actually infiltrated Masonry, took all the book courses, and he said, yeah, they've got 4 holy books. You know, you've got the Quran, you've got Bhagavad Gita, you've got King James Bible, and the 4th one was the Book of the Law by Aleister Crowley. And he was like, what the hell's that doing there? And he said, well, it used to be the Egyptian Book of the Dead, but after he made contact with the demon in Cairo, we thought it was worthy enough to include. So right there is part of the problem, right? And as Fritz Springmeier says, yeah, there's multiple doctrines within it, but there's one underlying one on the dark side, and that's Luciferianism.
Yeah, it's it's the perversion. Again, we just have to talk about the perversion that we're dealing with in all walks of life. And I have friends that are Freemasons, right? I have friends that are Freemasons, and Danster had something. Lucifer is a god, so indeed God works in Masons. God, lowercase g. He's a fallen angel, so it's if anyone has ever dealt with darkness, ever seen darkness, I've seen darkness. Have you seen darkness? Have you truly seen a darkness where you're like, whoa?
I haven't seen it, but I have a friend, Abner, who's 81, who's been working with spirits since 5, and trust me, his stories are mind-blowing. So I'm very aware of the possibility.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, Feargus, thank you for coming on. Thank you. I'm going to buy 10 copies of your book. You're going to send me 10 copies of the book. We're going to get 20 people, and we're going to make them influential. I'm headed to Washington, D.C. here shortly. I'll make sure it goes into the right hands. Maybe there's some people that I can have do it. But if you're actually listening, I'll be giving away those 10 copies that he sends over to 10 of you, right? And so we'll put together something that we can have you guys sign up for, and I'll raffle it off. But others, if you don't qualify for it, go buy the book. You can get it on books.com. You can get it on Amazon.
If you want the paperback, that's Amazon. There's now the ebook out and also the audio book. Audio book isn't on Audible, but it is on like Google Play, Apple Book type of thing. If anyone wants the hardback, probably the only way to get that is to contact me directly. Can I give my email address?
100%, but you will get a lot of emails.
No problem.
Give it.
Okay, it's Feargus Greenwood at protonmail.com. I'm Feargus, the Irish spelling, so it's Feargus, Greenwood, Greenwood. So Feargus Greenwood at protonmail.com.
Awesome. Feargus, thank you for coming out. Thank you. We put it in the comments too, so you can grab it. Go ahead and send an email if you would. Be respectful of the fact that a lot of people are going to be sending that email, so please don't try to take up all his time, although I'm sure he'll engage with you. So, Feargus, thanks for joining us. I appreciate you. God bless you.
Thanks for the invite. Nice chatting with you, Joe.
All right. It's a lot. We talk about what's happening in the UK, and obviously there's a tendency for us to get to the place where we see all the negative. And I had a friend of mine online, and very successful guy. And I came across his post, and I haven't really talked to him a lot. I don't spend a lot of time talking to him. It was, he's a fund manager. And he said that to those that are alarmed and exceedingly pessimistic about Mamdani's convincing victory, I have good news. I woke up today and the sun rose. I swept the street outside my building, went to a local restaurant with a friend, and everyone I know indicated that the city feels more or less like it did yesterday. You want to put that up? You want to talk about that? The collapse? Or you say you're just showing it to me? Okay. You're just showing me what you're putting up on behind me? The collapse in the White House? Okay. I just didn't know if you wanted me to address it. To those who have euphoric and exceedingly optimistic about Mandami's convicting victory, I have tempering news for you. I woke up today, the sun rose, swept the street outside my building, went to a local restaurant with a friend, and everyone I know indicated the city feels more or less like it did yesterday. And he says some things that I think have given me a little bit of hope. And that is, no matter what we say, and I tried to ask the question for Feargus. I wanted to ask him the question specific to, can we get through this without a conflict? No, I don't believe we can. Mathematically speaking, we're in the 90th percentile because we can actually see all the things that they're doing. We can see all of it. It's very easy to see. If you look at what's happening right now holistically across the country, they're stealing elections at every level, and they're not stopping. In other words, Douglas County, Colorado, it is 85% red. There is a high degree of people that loved what the school board in Douglas County was doing. It was the child first type mentality. In order to usher in what they needed to do on the school board, they had to get rid of them, and it was a clean sweep. The radicals won in Douglas County, Colorado. Nearly impossible. Not improbable, it's impossible that would happen in Douglas County, Colorado. And yet it happened because they steal every election at every level. Danielle Jersky, who, by the way, has been on the town council for the city of Aurora for the last, I think, 3, is massively popular for getting rid of the gangs and really focusing on the people. You'd be hard-pressed to find anyone that did not like her in Aurora. She lost her election. I mean, she's a lightning brand because she wants them to be accountable, and she doesn't want people in their communities to be held hostage. People resonate with that. The same way that they resonate in Washington, D.C. and Memphis and other cities where we send in the National Guard. Everyone on the outside, kind of like what my friend is saying here, everyone outside of New York City is talking about what's happening in New York City, but it hasn't happened yet. Now, his speech was terrifying because, frankly, it shows that the guy is completely unhinged and he was faking it until he made it. Now he made it, now he can terrorize with impunity everyone in New York City. The good news is he can't really raise taxes, he can't really give away everything free. He could just lie to people, and he did. And that will be found out. So if things start to erode and go away, people in New York City, they like to fight. And you're gonna see a large fight ensue. I wouldn't be surprised if that's where it started. But the same can be said for these other cities. If you go to Washington, D.C., everyone on the outside's like, you can't do it, it's unconstitutional, you're a bunch of fascists. I hear it all day. I look at all these pages and I see it, and I'm going, okay, let's pick up the phone and call them. I call people over there, and I'm like, hey, mama, how are things going? Somebody that I've known for 40 years, right, lives in Ward 8. I go, how are things? I think she's 71, 72. She goes, you would not believe it if I told you. I can walk outside. For the first time in decades, I am not looking around. I am just walking. I am looking, and she said that the grass is beautiful. See, she couldn't see it before. She was outside her house after 9 o'clock at night. Just so you know, you don't go out after 9 o'clock. You don't go out after 6 o'clock. Daylight savings literally causes PTSD. Because if you're caught out after dark, if you're wearing a gold necklace, it's gone. You don't have your wallet basically sewn into the inside of your thigh, it's gone. The opportunity of getting robbed or killed in an area like that, or somebody shooting through your house, pretty high. Chicago is even worse. And yet when they said they were going to send in, so when you sit here and you talk about what all these people are saying, these truths, the reality is the people that are in the middle of it, they just want life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. So for Danielle Jersky to lose her election, I'm telling you, it's manufactured. The whole election's manufactured. There aren't 600,000 people in the last 4 years that all of a sudden showed up and said, I'm going to vote in the election because I want this Democrat that's going to raise my taxes again. And by the way, in Colorado, we had 2 tax bills. Everything across the board, every single election across the board in the state of Colorado, 65% to 35%. It's impossible. But 65% to 35%. I think they screwed up. I'm talking about cities that were largely Republican. These are that decided, I want to go with the radical left. And the left said, oh, we're going to win it. You know why we're going to win it? It's kabuki theater, guys, because they're going to say the government shut down, so they want change. They want to go back to Biden. Said no one ever. They just got done shooting Charlie Kirk, and that's disappeared completely altogether, just disappeared. And now you have half a MAGA that go after Erica Kirk. Look, I don't give a shit what you think about Erica Kirk. I don't care. Oh, she's got fake tears. She got this. She lost her husband. She's got to raise kids on her own without her husband. And if she truly wanted to get rid of Charlie, she could have just divorced him. So to come up with this shit in your brain, like, I don't care what you think about Erica Kirk. I don't care what her parents did. Look, if you judge me according to my family, you wouldn't be listening to me right now. You want to know why? I don't come from great stock. Now, it'd be interesting if I came from stock that was, CIA or associated. I don't. My grandfather was a postmaster general. Fought in World War II. True story. Faked his birth certificate. Jumped out of a plane at 16 years old. Was injured over Germany. Got multiple medals. He was the only one in my family that I think had normal. My grandmother was normal. Everyone else in my family, completely retarded at times. So what are you going to do? Say that it skipped a generation? Joe didn't get the retard gene? I don't care what people think about Erica Kirk. What I care about is the fact that Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and all of a sudden you had all these people that ran towards their faith, and then they just bang their head on the wall. You have 50 or 60 or whatever it is, new chapters that are opening every day. They can see what's happening. They don't want anything to do with the left, and all of a sudden, in record numbers, they come out for communists? Are you kidding me? This is how retarded we are. Oh, they shut down the government for 35 days, and now people had an epiphany and said, let's just elect a bunch of Democrats in red areas. Proposition 50 passes. You got people that are out there with people that don't speak English, have no idea what they're voting for. A woman goes out there and talks to her, knows Chinese. They're like, oh, yeah, she, thank you. And yet they don't even know what they're voting for. And they don't speak English, so they're not citizens. And they can walk in. And yet the guy in New York literally said, you don't want my ID? No, we can't ask you for an ID. In the United States of America, you can walk in and say, my name is Donald Duck, and they will find you on a list, and I promise you, they will match your signature. That's what they said. How ridiculous is this? And you know what? It's not the left that's retarded. It's us on both sides of the aisle. It's both sides of this equation of being a conservative. We don't even know what conservative is. They don't know what a conservative is. What the hell's conservative about what we do? What are we conserving? Our elected leaders are selected leaders the same way that the left is. And if that's not the case, why do you have open primaries in different states? Why do you have mail-in ballots? You have open primaries in different states for one reason only, so that the left and the right can sit around and talk and say, listen, that's a really strong candidate. We're going to have to cheat too much. So you need the weak candidate to actually get it. Pam Anderson, in the case of the 2022 election for the Secretary of State against Tina Peters, a very highly effective and highly popular candidate in the state of Colorado. But no, the radical left and the betrayers of the right got together and said, hey, we're going to steal this from Tina. We'll use the elections to do so. We know that the elections have been fraudulent for the better part of the last 3 decades. We know that they've been cheating and paying people for lunch money in Chicago for the better part of 5 decades. To their own demise, they've already destroyed themselves, so why not give it up? They don't give a shit about the next generation. And what we've proven right now is that we don't care about that next generation either. We're not willing to make those sacrifices. We're not about that life. You talk about black and brown people inside of the inner cities not being about the life of being a doctor or a lawyer or a pilot or, I mean, anything. How about a trade school and just going there and being a mechanic or a plumber? They're not about that life. Now, you could be a drug dealer or you could be a basketball player. That's really what they've set it up for. And by the way, you're dumber than a box of rocks. We're going to send you to college. And on top of sending you to college, we're going to tell you that you're smart. You know, that whole idea of what Yuri said, that you can demoralize someone, because you got people that are just stupid, can't pay attention, retards, speak like they just rolled out of a toilet, a literal toilet, just flushed themselves down it, came out spewing shit. And they said, oh, you're not about that knowledge. You can't even speak the English language, which they redefined that too and said, you got cap and all this other bullshit that they put out there because the English language wasn't complicated enough that we have there, and there. We had to make it more complicated. Everything about what we're facing right now is manufactured. And we sit in the middle and we try to negotiate and debate the ridiculous, like DEI. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it's not a mistake, by the way, that DEI is just a reformation of die, because it's meant to kill everything that it touches. But I'm going to show you something, because Thomas Massie seems to be a good guy. He's not, in the Jewish lobby, AIPAC, which is great. President Trump's annoyed with him. He's right some of the time. He votes for us some of the time. But if you vote for us some of the time and 90% of the other candidates don't, and they're just obstructionists to what President Trump's trying to get done, you're basically just white noise. You really don't have courage, right? You're like a thorn. And again, central casting, you got to have those antagonists, and that's really what he's become. Go ahead and put this up here. Here's Thomas Massie. To avoid a repeat of last night's shellacking in the 2026 midterms, Republicans should, ready? Quit covering for pedophiles, put America before Israel, put farmers before corporations, quit funding wars abroad, reduce spending to control inflation, quit attacking independent voices. Okay. Let me just tell you that if you did all of that, you'd still lose. You want to know why? It's pretty simple. You can't outvote the machines. Can't outvote the machines. I could sit here and I could show you a stack of shit and say, listen, go look at this. Here's all the cast vote records across the country. And you'd still have the village idiot that got out there and said, I had one today. Here's the, let me find this village idiot. I had to respond to him. I hope I can find it. Smacked him around a little bit. He didn't like me. I didn't like him either. I told him to piss off. I thought it was interesting. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is nothing to do with me. I don't care. Right? Oh, here it is. Here you go. You're a POS. We can't stand you. You have not proven anything. Go away. You're a flintard and a mic. I like to smoke crack. Lindell hack. Put up or shut up, you POS. You had me fooled for a long time, okay? I said, okay, faggot. I actually said that. You sound legit for sure. And look, you don't have to like my language. Sometimes I'm just going to have to push it out there. And you want to know why? Because if you're so offended by my language, which is why I did this today, then why are you not offended by what's happening right now in our country? They got a howitzer at the heads of our children, and you're worried about me saying shit. And you're like, oh no, Joe, you know, it says right here in the Bible. It also says in the Bible not to let your children fall before you. It says in the Bible that you literally don't let evil, you don't capitulate to evil. It says in the Bible that you have to act. Faith without works is dead. Also said in the Bible, hey, am I the enemy because I tell you the truth, which means you got to speak. It says in the Bible you should always stand for good. You should sell your cloak and buy a sword. It says all those things, but you walk past it to tell me I'm cussing at you. I'm not cussing at you. I'm just telling you, very simply, that sometimes you're just full of shit. Sometimes we have to actually do something. I just asked the question to Feargus. You know why I asked him? Because I wanted to know, what are you guys doing there? Like, how are you working this problem? Like, we don't know how to work the problem here either. Our deal is let's go vote, because you know what? It doesn't take any risk. And the people that do risk, you got the CIA over here, and you got the migatards over here. You put them together, and then you got the left over here taking shots at you, and you got people like Mermaid, this little shitbag that used to book people for me, running around saying Joe doesn't have any credibility because she was paid off a little bag of shekels to take shots at me. You got that happening over here. Yeah, I don't have credibility. I built something from a coffee cup and 2 boxes I had in the back of my car 30 years ago when I left and came to Colorado. Nobody gave me anything. And I say that because, do you want your country back? No. All you have to do is say that I'm not supporting Israel, and everyone will forgive you and they will start voting for you the right way. All the voting companies, you know what they're going to do? They're going to be like, oh, we found our way. Let's go elect a bunch of Republicans. Do you know how retarded that sounds? You know it's not true. You know it's not true. It took Steve Baker outside of the FBI to actually get to the bottom of the pipe bomber in D.C. 4 years later. The FBI could track my phone. They could go to NSA, got full access to everything. They could do all these things to help us, right? Because, you know, simp. Everything's bad. We got to help. All white people are bad. You got liberals walking around that believe the garbage, the Urites. They're already demoralized and they're already trash. And so they're just trying to destroy everything around them. And you got a guy outside the FBI that can get something done that you can't get done with 30,000 people. Oh, that's right. We're going to talk about that later because they didn't want to get it right. You have people inside of the FBI, you have people inside the administration that are trying to bury the pipe bomber right now, like as we speak, knowing that they know who it is. In the current administration, that's happening. The Judases and the Brutuses, they're not talking about the elections. Do you know who's talking about elections being stolen? Normies, the Democrats, Republicans, independents, they're all saying the same thing. This is not right. This is worse than 2020. And we don't do anything about it. We walk right past it. Mr. President, you're walking past it. I saw all your posts. I was like, he's going to come out, he's going to say, this is just as fraudulent as it was there before. He's not doing it. Maybe there's 5D chess. Maybe there is. But damn it, I want to see something. Here's President Trump again. I really, but just, here's President Trump talk. Go ahead.
You know, I'm so torn because I would like to see the new mayor do well because I love New York. I really love New York. When I left New York for Washington, New York was doing really well, but there were some bad signs. The bad sign was a guy named de Blasio. So the signs of de Blasio, that was the beginning, and it was bad. This one, we're going to, look, for 1,000 years, communism has not worked. Communism or the concept of communism has not worked. I tend to doubt it's going to work this time.
Did you see his victory speech?
It's literally never worked. Yeah, I thought it was a very angry speech, certainly angry toward me, and I think he should be very nice to me. You know, I'm the one that sort of has to approve a lot of things coming to him, so he's off to a bad start.
Why? They didn't just steal the election from President Trump in 2020. They stole the sovereignty of a nation from a presidency and down ballot all the way down into our communities. You know, Mike Flynn used to say, he goes, local action breeds national results. Show me. Show me. I want everybody to show me. I want the Captain Obvious clowns out there that say that they got it all figured out. I want you to show me how local action can do anything if you cannot win anything because the elections are fixed. We had school boards in the city and county of Douglas County, Colorado. Bright red. I'm talking bright red. You have a clown group of a bunch of retards, 5%. But a vast majority of Douglas County is bright red. Bright red. And a radical school board gets put in place that is now going to teach our kids radically in those environments. And on top of that, taxes, 2 tax hikes, massive tax hikes in the state of Colorado all passed. You didn't just disenfranchise a group of people, you disenfranchised the entire state and you captured them as slaves, saying, give me more slave. That actually happened. Let's look at the numbers and what the numbers are saying on election day. Let's put up C3. White New Yorkers were the only racial group that supported Cuomo over Mamdani in the mayoral race. 45% supported Mamdani, 46% Cuomo. Black, 57% supported Mamdani, 38% Cuomo. 52% supported Mamdani, 39% supported Cuomo. 62% of Asians supported Mamdani, 32% supported Cuomo. 51% of all others, 39% supported Cuomo. Let me just tell you why I know that to not be true. Because I picked up the phone and I called people and I was like, listen, just do me a favor and go just ask 10 people, ask 20 people, different races, who they voted for. I couldn't get one person that voted for Mamdani. Not one person. Not one person. And look, I only called 10 people. They all live in different areas, some affluent, some not so affluent. I was like, just do me a favor. Just go ask 10 people on the street who they voted for. Not one person. Not one person voted for Mamdani. And here's the age by gender breakdown of the mayoral race. Put that up. You put it up? Nope, that's the racial group. That's not it. By gender. By age. The one by age. By age. By age. You have the one right now that's by, I need the one by age. 4. Age by gender. There you go. Okay. White liberal women overwhelmingly voted for Mamdani last night, proving once again they are the pox on society. Men 18 to 29, 68% voted for Mamdani. Men 30 to 44, 66% voted for Mamdani. Men 45 to 64, 45% voted for Mamdani. Men 65 and older, 36% voted for Mamdani. Women 18 to 29, 6% voted for 84% for Mamdani. Women 30 to 44, 65%. Women 45 to 64, that must be my part that is smart, 42%. And then women 65 and older, 35% for Mamdani. So 84% of people 18 to 29 voted for Mamdani. Do you believe that? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, it didn't happen. Couldn't find anyone. Couldn't find anyone So you got, I don't know, I think it was 8 people, 9 people, maybe it was 10. Asked 10 people. I said, did you ask 10 people? They're like, yeah. Were you on the subway? Yeah. Did you ask anybody? You had the video yesterday where you had people talking about being on the subway, and it was like a morgue. Nobody was excited. Everyone was upset. There was young people, old people, didn't matter who you were. Black, green, yellow, purple, purple people on there. Here's Queens. New York has a population of 2.4 million people. 48% are foreign-born with over 160 languages spoken. And let's look at this Fox News deal that goes over the data.
On Queens, I think Queens is so interesting, Sean. You look at this, just for our viewers at home. Like, no matter where you're watching in America tonight, just stop and think about this for a moment. This is one of 5 boroughs, okay, in Queens. It's not even the most populated. In this particular borough, maybe you fly in the JFK, maybe you fly in the LaGuardia, population 2.4 million. Foreign-born, 48%. Languages spoken, in Queens alone, 160 different languages. When you study New York City, you're studying a country. Sean, you can literally cross the street and you find people with different ethnicity, different religion. They come from different parts of the world, and they certainly vote in very different ways. And you do not have to go far in that neighborhood or on that street to find that. I'm just saying, very interesting to study New York. For the past 2 months, really. Queens has got a third of the vote counted, a dead even 33%. Mamdani at 9.7-point advantage over Cuomo, and Curtis Sliwa comes up to 11 points. So Sliwa's in double digits here. Well, I tell you this, for you viewers at home to go ahead and follow this, watch Sliwa's number. If he's in double digits, that's bad news for Andrew Cuomo. If he's down into single digits, that would improve the chances of Andrew Cuomo.
48% foreign-born. Let me just tell you of that 48% foreign-born that they said voted for Mamdani. Many of those people, it's not 160 languages, by the way, he just made that up. Many of the people there come from communist countries, come from countries of oppression that came from Iran, came from countries that oppressed them, that came to the United States to get an opportunity, right? They're hustlers. The people that live in New York City, they hustle. People in the Midwest, they don't know how to work unless they're farmers. Actually, on the Eastern Plain, you have but there's a lot of people here that don't know how to really work. I mean, in New York, it is a hustle. You are hustling all day long to make a living because it's expensive. But they came from communism. They wouldn't vote for communism. They'd rather have what they know, which is Cuomo. See, people there, they're comfortable with what they know. That's why they can put a guy in like, let's talk about President al-Bashir of Sudan. Guy was in power for over 30 years. The reason why he was in power, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. These people knew Cuomo. He was the governor. They're like, man, he's a Democrat. He's at least a Democrat we've known before. Like, shit didn't get, it was pretty stable, at least a little bit. You think that those people just went, oh, you know what? That guy's communist. There was a guy that literally was from Iran that said, listen, they tried this in Iran. They came in and destroyed it. They're trying to fight their way back. No way in hell people in that country or in that city, that borough that came from communist nations voted for it. But that's not what the election says. We know for a fact that the elections were stolen. I don't know how in the world we do not have national security interests that are out there, ODNI, HSI, any of these organizations. I don't know how any of them, how DNI, HSI, DHS, any of it, isn't literally at the bottom of this, confiscating every one of the machines and saying, no, we're going to get to the bottom of it. And you would say, well, Joe, they can't do it. It's a state election. No, state elections influence federal, people. And if you steal the state elections, what do you think is going to happen in the midterm? A lot of bad stuff. Here's the guy. Here, watch this guy. This is Welcome to New Yorkistan. Go ahead and play it.
The new mayor of New York City is a Muslim socialist. Welcome to New York's sun. But for real, why are y'all so mad? Calm down. Let them experience it. They have to go through this. Iran went through the same bullshit. Zohran Mamdani is Khomeini point two. Literally. Khomeini fed the same bullshit, same lies, same agendas, straight from the Islamic jihadist playbook, word by word, to the people of Iran. People fell for it. Free shit, free this, free that, free food, free electricity, free bus rides, justice for the oppressed. You know how it ended? People do regret it. He destroyed the country, destroyed the economy, destroyed the culture.
People died.
And people of Iran are fighting against it to this day. 2.7 million people dead. And same thing happened to the Soviet Union. Apparently, some people never read history. They never learned from it. They still fall for the same socialist, communistic bullshit, free shit. Who gonna pay for it? Welcome to New York sun. Let them experience it. Don't be mad.
Here's the London mayor, Khan. London, captured. I can tell you right now, man, they have to take the guns away from people in the United States because it's going to get real. Go ahead and play it.
Well, there are many parallels that New York and London have, and there are many parallels that Zohran and I have. And congratulate the city of New York. They've chosen in a bitterly contested election hope over fear, unity over division, and I'm already experiencing the ripples of hope and happiness coming from his victory.
These are disgusting devils. Here's one of the most important videos you will watch. Play cut 8. Here's Mamdani's intern. Right after he was elected. Play it.
And the true believer knows that none of this is in vain, that this is all jihad, that this is all ibadah, and that this is all counted for by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so the conversation of doxing, the conversation of getting arrested and suspended, I think it's time for Muslims to start to say, all right, so what? Do what you want. I'm gonna do what I gotta do, because it's about time to do that. And I know everybody has their own families and has an education and everything. Just a question. We don't want to get doxxed, and we don't want to get suspended, and we don't want to get arrested. How gangsta are you? That's just my question. How much are you willing to do it? And I know everyone has their own risk levels, but at the end of the day, that's a question to ask ourselves. How committed am I to this? To what extent of my personal material gains am I willing to sacrifice for this bigger noble cause? And subhanAllah, I truly believe that when your heart is in the right place, if you get suspended, if you get doxxed, because it's bound to happen when you're doing a righteous cause and when you're doing something for the sake of Allah here in the West, it will never ever be in vain. And the true believer does not fear that, because the true believer knows that the akhirah is a promise.
You can't live in harmony when people don't want to live in harmony. It's pretty bad. And here is what liberals are doing on Wednesday, dancing around the streets. This is interesting. These are one of the few people that voted for Mamdani, obviously. Go. Yeah, so that's actually just a small section. Most people were not dancing in the street, but we've got a lot of work to do. We got a lot of work to do. But if we don't get rid of machines and mail-in ballots, we have zero And I've been saying it for 5 years, and I know you get tired of hearing it, but I'm not going to get tired of saying it. I'm going to continue to say it over and over and over again. Why? Because, frankly, what do you think is going to happen? How do you think this is going to end? Think it's going to end well? Cuomo lost and ran independently, and they asked for the Republican winner to drop out. It upset me hearing people say that they were either way. It would not matter. It would have been cheated. Yeah, well, either way, it would have been cheated. You're right, Dancer. It would have. The Holy Spirit is inside Joe. Why doesn't God get that same or more respect? Go up a little bit. Let me see who said that. What's that? Jeff says, Joe turned it off when his priest was in the studio. Joe turned it off. What did I turn off? You guys are killing me. I need to keep up with this stuff. I did it as, by the way, I did exactly what you don't want me to hear and have me say, right? Yeah, so listen, when I put it out on the audio version, can you guys confirm you take out all the cuss words? Right? You bleep them? Yeah, so you have to deal with shit. That's what you have to deal with. Good. I get rid of the 2 F-bombs that I said. And look, I was trying to prove a point. You have to, we have to stop saying that our limits are, words are hurting us. They have redefined our vernacular completely. They've used all these words against us. They've created their own soup salad and then told you this is what it means. Fascism is now someone that wants to preserve ethical moral value, that believes in God. That's a fascist. You don't know how silly that is? So we're concerned about one thing, but we're not so concerned that we won't get out and do something. But we will protest me saying a bad word. What did I turn off when the priest was in here? The priest has heard me say more than a few curse words. I promise you, more than a few. Charlie says it's not going to end well at all. Joe, maybe. Listen, we can't fight with each other, but we can fight with each other. We should be able to have a little friction. I forgive you occasionally. Colorful language, Joe. Thank you. Thank you. Listen, I'm not going to be right all the time. I'm going to be right 99% of the time. But I do this podcast every day for 2 hours. I do those 2 hours for a big reason. Here's my big reason. You ready? I want you to wake up. I want you to become a leader. I want you to be a leader among men and women. I want you to speak out. I want you to take that speaking out, and I want you to make it infectious, because courage is more infectious than fear. If you, YO Grammy, I agree with you, Jeff. I don't share it because my family and friends would think I agree with all of it, including language. Yeah, well, go to shop. What is it called? Where do you get it? Where it's on the video format as well? Spotify? Spotify, you clean it up in the video too, put it out there? All right, and do we put it out there for the reruns? Do we clean it up there? Okay. All right. All right. Let's pray it out, shall we? I'm going to tell you that if we don't do something drastic about machines and mail-in ballots, we have no chance of winning. And I know that President Trump knows this. I know for a fact that even the left and the right, they both know it. But if you want to get rid of the rot within our system, you're going to have to be drastic, because it's going to get drastic. It's going to get bad. For those of you that don't know, pray for David, please. Pray for Dave Bear. And pray for me not to cuss anymore. How's that? Can you pray for me to do that? Look, you have to admit, I have gotten much calmer over the years. I used to get really upset. Now I just get a little bit more passionate. All right, let's pray. Father God, we bring it before you. We take a breath and we we humble ourselves before you. Father, I know that I should not use curse words. Forgive me. There's so many big things that we walk past and concentrate on things that we can become virtuous over. I think that was my point. But point well taken. Father, we are grateful for the blessings you've given us. We are grateful for this beautiful country we have. We're grateful for those leaders that do stand up. And we're grateful for the ability to have a voice and to have courage and to be able to be examples to our children, grandchildren, generations we'll never know. What became starkly obvious, Father, is the fact that Charlie Kirk was murdered. He was murdered less than 2 months ago. And yet, here we are. We're sitting here having a conversation as if we had forgotten all about the sacrifice that had been made. It's as if Charlie's name just doesn't sit on the minds of anyone in America anymore. And we know that's not true, Father. But we know that there is a control in place that is trying to wipe him from our memories, wipe the common sense, wipe the dialogue, and replace it with this evil. So, Father, it's not just about Charlie. It's about this manipulation that happens, this propaganda, this fixed control of our society and our minds. Father, I ask you to give us the ability to walk past it, to eliminate the rot, to concentrate on how we can do things to help get rid of the machines and mail-in ballots, get to a place where we have sovereignty, where we are delivered from bondage. Help us, Father, to be a part of the process as you would have us, and help us that we may lift that burden off our shoulders and just to look at this as another challenge, another trial that we have to overcome. Father, I ask you to bless our children, that they may be protected from these demons, these groomers, these really evil people, and that we may every day wake up with the ability and the desire and the actions to protect them. Father, I ask you again to heal David Bear. I know I don't have I know it's not my decision, but he is such a good man. And you got plenty of good men up there. You got Charlie up there. We just really like to keep Dave. We know that it's your will, Father, but I just ask that you heal him. Supernaturally heal Dave Bear. Help us, Father, we may follow the lead that you give us and the promptings that you put in our heart. I say these things in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Oh, all right. I'll see you guys later. I pray Joe gets less passionate. No, you don't, Mod Trend. That is not true. Said no one ever. Frosty, Charlie Kirk was assassinated on 9/10, day before 9/11. And now we have a Muslim elected in New York where Muslims took down the World Trade Center. Think about that. Now, he didn't say think about that, but I can see it. Susan Rice, good to see you. Good Susan. I'm asking you guys to all pray for Dave. I add a little humor in there that the Lord already has Charlie Kirk. He can leave us David. I pray that's true. So, all right. God bless you all. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Oh, we have a big special tomorrow. We have a mind map. Do we have that mind map we can show just to start this? Okay. Tomorrow, we're going to do a special show in the morning, and then we're going to do another show at night. The show in the morning is about a research project of everything that had to do with Dominion, where it traces back to some of the information. And I have an expert that'll be on here that's going through these things. It's going to be fantastic. All right. It's going to be awesome. All right. God bless you all. See you soon.
Rise up untamed. In the heart of the fight where the wild ones roam, Joe Oltmann's calling, bringing truth back home. From conservative daily to this untamed fire, we shatter the silence, lifting spirits higher. No chains can hold us, no lies can prevail. Authentic and fearless on this rugged trail. Patriots gather under stars and stripes. Untamed nation, igniting the night. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever strong. Play it again all night long. Break the mold, chase the real. No more games, time to heal. Joe's voice leads the untamed crew. Truth matters through and through. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Tame nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever